late. We were in an exec meeting prior to this to discuss employee or personnel issue. Let me get the right agenda here. The revised ones is what you all should have gotten. And Dot is recording for her personal use. And I think that's it. We'll get started then. Public input. Let's see. I'm going to just call out the ones that aren't on the agenda here. Jane, you have something about the Meadow and Campbelltown Community Park?
Yes. At the last meeting, I was talking about the meadow on Woodlawn and Bridle, and I got the impression that Jack thought I was pulling the information on the meadow out of my butt. So this is what the sign says as a natural area. This is the definition. And this is what a meadow is. So I'm just giving you a copy so that you are informed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And this book is in the Palmyra Library and the Hershey Library. And at the Hershey Library, they also have 2 DVDs, but they don't have the DVDs at the Palmyra Library. So if you want to get more information on how to set up a meadow and what you need to do with it, maybe whoever does the lawn mowing or whoever would establish a meadow could use this or some other meadow book as a reference.
Okay.
Just so you're informed.
Anything else?
And I just have a few questions in relation to Campbelltown Park. Now, on the Hanover website, it said that the Campbelltown Community Park, the total project cost was $547,000. Now, how much of that was paid to Hanover for the park?
I would have no idea offhand. You'd have to do a right to know.
Okay. And the other question is, the current rental of the soccer fields, what is the rental fee that is being paid for that?
If I'm correct, it was just $1 in exchange for them maintaining the property.
Okay.
Patrick, does that?
That sounds familiar. They're responsible for certain maintenance requirements over there, lawn mowing, other miscellaneous items.
And currently they're using both sides. And in the Campbelltown Park, it had like fields on one side and a baseball diamond on the other. If that is what might happen to that area in the future, would the baseball diamonds still be on one side and the soccer fields on the other?
I guess we'd have to cross that bridge once the money became available to do any improvements on that park.
Okay, the other question is, someone said that Carriage Park residents all had to pay a recreation fee to the township that was supposed to go in relation to the community park.
We don't
Is
charge
that
a
true?
recreation fee to any residents in the township.
Well, I got the impression that that was just for the new development.
Paid by the developer. There's a fee assessed to the developer.
Okay.
But that fee wouldn't have been on that development because we received the open space there.
True.
So no.
No, okay. And
Instead of a park, we got the open space that's in that development.
my other question has to do with the repairing buffer, but I think that's being brought up at Campbelltown repairing buffer. That's
On the agenda?
funds. Okay,
Yep.
that's it then.
Okay. Connie, you have stuff about employee handbook, open space, and township.
Yeah, I'll start with the open space. Do we, as a township, spray any of our open space areas or the parks or anything like that for like ticks?
Not that I'm aware of. I know at some point, this was years ago, I know they were doing something with the malaria, but that was probably before I...
Not to my knowledge that we're doing anything.
I feel like Sean did something, or there was something
Yeah.
way back when, but
Was
not
it
now.
the black fly, there was a black fly.
I'm not
item,
sure.
A few years back.
About that.
Was prevalent in this area, that folks were doing some spraying on that.
We are currently not.
And I want the board to just think about that, because being that we didn't really have a very harsh winter, these areas, these grassy areas, like in Lawn where the baseball field is, or these, you know, the parks, the Twin Kiss right there in Colebrook, a lot of those grassy areas are really infested with ticks. And I'm just thinking that something possibly might need to be addressed with that. I don't know what the expense of it would be, but, am I right?
It could be
Yeah.
expensive.
I mean, I'm saying it's a real serious problem. I hate to see, I mean, it's not like you just go there and have like one little tick on you. I mean, it is a real epidemic.
It's a problem in the whole state of Pennsylvania.
Well, I know that, but I mean, you can also try to maintain it, that it doesn't get out of control too. But yeah, that was my one question.
Okay.
And then the other one was the employee handbook, which I did see, that has been once again on the agenda for upcoming meetings. When does the board think they'll be addressing that?
Not sure.
Being that we're hiring new employees, and based on the fact that we've had many issues with administration, with lawsuits and things like that, I would think that that would be a priority.
It's on our list of things to do, yep.
Well, it's been on the agenda for upcoming meetings for a year. We spent, I don't know if you had a chance to check with your secretary, whether it was like $4,000. You were gonna look into all that, I don't know how that all came about, but we spent a lot of money, taxpayer money for this, and we have nothing. And
Connie,
now we're
let
bringing-
me address this.
Sure.
With me being new and trying to hit a whole lot of items right now.
Right.
That is on my agenda. Is it the top one or the top five? Probably not right now. I'm trying to keep the finger in the dikes with everything and learn the area and try to take care of some other items. But it is a high item. I have been looking at some of the items that my past predecessors have worked on. There's a lot of work that has to be done on there yet. But that's no different than any other municipality. I mean, I've dealt with handbooks my whole career, and it's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it's constantly getting updated and changed. But it's on my radar too. So I'll be working with the Board of Supervisors, and they'll help me prioritize my items, and I'll let you guys know what's going on.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it, Connie?
Okay.
Andrew Geronimo?
Yep.
Okay, the roundabout?
Yes, I'd like to talk about the roundabout. I'm talking on behalf of the Campbelltown Community Alliance, which I'm a part of. We applied through PennDOT to beautify the roundabout on 117 Riverside Drive. I just wanted to get kind of confirmation from the board that that was okay with you guys, as long as you're responsible for the maintenance and plantings themselves.
Yes, we talked about it at the workshop, and yes, we decided that you guys applied for the permit, you got permission from PennDOT. Our only concern was that you maintain the whole area so that the current maintenance crew of the township is not having to weed whack or maintain anything there. So as long as you're taking care of the whole thing, you have our blessing.
A related question was whether there was a resource, at least on a short-term basis, for a water tank that could be supplied by the township for at least, if we plan to make it drought tolerant and low maintenance for, after the first few years, but we wanted to know if it was possible that during the planting and the months after, whether, what's it called, water buffalo, if you guys had one, or?
I don't think we.
We have like a 275 gallon plastic toad, if you've ever seen, like shipping toad, I know they have. You'd have to be able to transport it. As, there's no pump or anything, so it would have to be elevated like in a truck bed or something, but becomes very difficult to do that in that circle.
Who would I talk to? Is there someone in Public Works who could, help us with that?
I think John could probably lead you in the right direction.
What we can do is we can work with Bill Jarrell, who's in charge of the highway area, and we can see what opportunities we have. Again, the concern, and I agree with Jack on that, is in that roundabout, how are you going to get a truck in there to sit there and still have vehicles going around that? That's a huge concern from a safety standpoint.
I've been looking at designs for these, because it's all new to me as well. And they typically, beyond the buffer that exists for trucks to go around, the big red circle that surrounds the grassy area, you put in an area where, you know, a maintenance truck is supposed to go, so you don't cover a part of it. That way you can park the truck on the grassy part and that.
I mean, in the circle.
Yeah, you cut an alcove out of it that we won't plant, and that way that'll be for a maintenance truck.
I mean, I think I touched a little bit last time, but I have some serious concern for your safety over there. I don't know if anybody in your organization regularly works in traffic, but I'd encourage you to sit over there with your lawn chair at a safe distance, maybe for a few hours
What would you say
someday.
is the frequency of people going through there?
I see.
I'm not so much that is once you work in traffic, I work in traffic a fair amount, and once you start there, you're the site, you know, even whether it's emergency services or whether we're doing construction, you know, everybody's eyes are fading to you, so that circle creates some confusion, so as it is for the motoring public. And once you plant yourself in there, whether you're just physically in there working, or whether you have, you know, a truck or anything, you become a distraction to the traffic. And I wouldn't let my wife work over there, I could tell you that.
Okay, we'll hope to find some great volunteers then. But we have, PennDOT says we have to conduct a training and have people sign waivers, so we're going to do that. The other question is about the Marcellus Shale grant. We got word that this is something that was approved by the township or approved by the county years ago for improvement of the community park, I think. Like $14,000, I believe, that was to be matched by the township, and I don't believe it's been spent. We wanted to know if we raised matching funds, we could use a portion of that as matching funds for this roundabout project.
My first instinct would be no, I'd rather use it for the park, which is what we're trying to raise money for. But I don't know, Jack, Bill, what are your thoughts?
What did you want to use it for?
The roundabout.
No. I would not be in favor. I mean, I might be in favor of some other project, but I'm not gonna take any action to prohibit you from what you're doing at the roundabout, but I really think it's not the safest project.
Is it possible that you're gonna lose that money? Because I got the impression from someone in the county that it's been sitting there for years, and if we don't use it, they're gonna repurpose it to something else, which could be to the roundabout.
Well, I guess if they repurpose it to the roundabout and they think it's a better idea, then whomever is in control of those funds obviously has a different opinion than I do.
So that you would have to consult with the county.
Whomever, I think the commissioners are the administrators of those grants, so.
But the grant is held by the township. Are you willing to
We don't
use
hold it, the county has it, we have
No, but I
to,
mean, you applied for it, it's the township, and you are, you know, the contractor, whatever it is there.
well, we technically haven't applied for it at all because we don't have matching funds.
Perhaps your organization is interested in raising those funds, and then we could use it for the intended purpose.
Well, my question is related to, you know, are you open to other community improvement projects besides the roundabout that could be used for?
I certainly would entertain.
Okay.
It has a comment, I think, related to it.
Comment to that?
Yes,
Yeah,
if, you would have to check the grant, because if you applied for a grant for the township park, then usually that grant has to go towards the township park. You can't use it for anything, you know, something else. At least grants that we've tried to, you know, to apply for. It goes for what you set in
Yeah, and
motion,
I'm-
what the grant is for, not, okay, we got this money, now we're not gonna do that, we're gonna do something over here.
I'm under the impression that the grant, there's 2 grants, each of 7,000 is what I'm under the impression of, and I'm remembering this from years ago, so if I'm incorrect, I apologize, but we haven't technically applied for it at all because we never had matching funds. So we have always tried to raise the matching funds and been unsuccessful. So as far as I know, we haven't actually applied for them. We've always asked for continuation to still have the money there, but I could be wrong. Maybe we did say, hey, we want this money for parks and just have never claimed it. I'm not sure. John, you don't know anything?
I would think we probably did, somebody did back in 2016 or something like that. I think there was probably a grant that was applied for on behalf of the township. And you're absolutely right, when it's intended for the park, that's usually what it is. We have to go out there and talk to the county and find out a little bit what the limitations are. I haven't had the chance and the opportunity to go in there and do a whole lot of work on that. I know we talked about it at the last meeting, didn't hear about it, and I know Dave talked about, listen, we have a few donations, but if people are willing to go out there and get more donations than 10 was for the park, we'd have to talk about it.
Well, what I'm hearing is even if it's okay with the commissioners, it's not to be used for the roundabout project.
Well, here it sounds like I stand corrected that this were probably,
I'd have to do
I have
more
no
research.
idea.
I don't want to say no.
I mean, I think we all agree, the first step would, whoever issued the grant would have to give the blessing to those funds.
Yeah.
If that then landed here, as far as I'm concerned, I would not vote for that to be used for the roundabout, but I would be open to other community projects.
Yeah, before I pursue it further with the county, I'd like to know if you guys would be okay with it with the roundabout though.
no, I would not either. Maybe you have a different view.
No, I do not have a different view.
What if the county says, if you're not gonna use the funds within the next year, we're gonna give it to somebody who is gonna use it? Would that be able to be used for the roundabout or some other activity other than the park?
That would be up to the county then.
Yeah, that's-
And that usually is is what happens with grants. If you don't use it within a certain point in time, they pull back and say, hey, listen, it goes back to the coffers and it's a new pool, and they decide to put it wherever they want to.
It is
But I
about
do-
5 years now since it hasn't been touched.
I know, but we don't have the matching funds. You keep missing that point. I mean, unless we have the funds,
It's being done to get the matching funds, so we're not gonna get the matching funds.
I have personally done things to try to get the matching funds. Jack has offered to donate money. I have offered to donate money. Sean Arball started, there's been plenty that has been done. It's just obviously not a priority to the residents if no one's donating money.
But if the county says that they're gonna be lost, the funds will be lost, then it's the county's decision to give it to the roundabout or give it to some other municipality that's gonna use it.
Yes, it is up to the county to do
Okay.
that then, yes.
Okay.
One follow-up, since you mentioned it, what are the fundraisers, so, like, how can I donate money to this?
Well, there was a GoFundMe, that was Sean Arball's time, so that would have been 4 or 5 years ago. Nobody donated.
Anything has gotten out of that.
No, it just said no one donated. Jack pledged money and I pledged money and I also applied for a grant. When was that?
Williams grant.
Williams grant, was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And we got denied the grant. So, and the son also
Yeah.
was donating money, so.
And what was the grant that was denied, you said from Williams?
Was it Williams?
I think
Ed?
it was Williams.
Yeah.
A pipeline company.
Mhm. Okay, so moving on. We're looking at February 11th Board of Supervisor meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Moving on to February 26th, the workshop meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I wasn't there.
Oh, that's right. I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. So bill and payroll, 420 and 520.
The other sheet we were not able to print out, but Bill signed the checks here.
Okay.
So,
So do I have a motion to approve 420 and 520?
They would have been the same as was sent out, John?
yes.
Okay, then I would make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Reports. Township Manager, do you have a report for us?
Very good. Township's been working with Med Ed to address the streetlights which have been installed in the flight path area, but have never been turned on. We have a tentative energizing timeframe of the week of March the 16th for these streetlights to be turned on and fully functional. I do have a contact of an individual at MedEd, and he's working very closely with me, so I know we had a meeting with the library here a couple weeks ago, and they put that on my radar and made some phone calls, and so it looks like we'll finally have lights in the place. Chad Weaver also met with Frank, our engineer, and myself last week to discuss the sidewalk deferments, which were also granted for the various bike path lots over the last 20 years, basically. He will be working on developing a sidewalk proposal along with other lot owners in order to share this plan at the May 27th workshop per the supervisor's request at the last meeting. As per the last Board of Supervisors meeting, the arrangements have been made with Palmyra Parks and Rec Board to schedule a small soccer field right behind the building here for the elementary school age soccer practice in the evenings from March to October. So it's, as I like to call it, it's a bumblebee ball. I mean, it's a bunch of little kids going after one ball. It's kindergarten, first and second grade, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that practice back there. No games, nothing on the weekends at this point, but that field will also be utilized then. Later in the agenda, the Board of Supervisors will be taking action on the Campbelltown, okay, I'm not sure if I get this pronunciation, if it's the riparian or the riparian, but the buffer for the low bidder, what is it?
Riparian.
Riparian, okay, you got that wrong, so, riparian. Since this bid was significantly lower, or below the amount of the grant the township was awarded, we're working with the Campbelltown Fire Company to review the possible expansion of this buffer to include some of the creek bank frontage on their property. The grant agency has already given their approval for us to consider expanding this buffer area as opposed to returning the unspent funds. So again, very positive news there on that. We'll continue to work on that. In the sewer authority end of things, the pre-bid meeting was held last week with various contractors to review the bid specs and questions associated with the repair of about 150 manholes throughout the township, which were assessed last year and identified as needing repairs. Assuming the bid goes according to plan, this work will be conducted throughout the summer and should be completed by early fall. Much of this work will be financed through a grant of the Commonwealth Financing Authority. That's all for the report.
Thank you. I have a question on the soccer fields.
Yes.
Did we work out parking?
Yes, it sounds like for right up here, the parking, because it's only practice, it's no games, it's just, it might be 15 cars at most in the evening, so parking will not be an issue with us.
And no to parking at the old municipal building, or?
I have not had a return call from them.
Okay.
So at this point in time, yeah,
No.
it's.
I just didn't want people to think that was
I
fair
agree.
game.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I
I
agree,
know,
but-
I think we talked about that at the workshop.
Yeah, I was more worried that if it was overload and there were games coming and you had two teams of folks out here and then another team coming, and you know how it all works as a parent and kids, it's everybody's parking down the street and everything's fair game, and I didn't want anybody getting upset, especially a neighbor and a partner of us, so.
Yep. All right, thank you. We don't have a report on zoning court, or do you have something for us?
Well, I mean, just a quick update. I've been working with John, you know, as he said, you know, finger in the dike situation. Phone calls coming in on zoning questions are being collected by Nanette and Glenda, and then forwarded to John, and then what he can't answer, they're forwarded to me. And I'm working with the residents. Again, just making sure we're moving forward and we're being responsive to the residents.
Okay.
So that's kind of the quick update on my involvement with the zoning while the township goes through this transition process.
Okay, thank you. Patrick, do you have anything?
Nothing specific to report other than I probably have some follow-up on, under new business number 3, the advertisement for the defined contribution on uniform pension plan ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, do you have a report for us?
Yes. Last month, officers reported on 256 incidents, made 4 criminal arrests, one of them being a DUI arrest. Issued 30 traffic citations, 8 non-traffic citations, and gave 11 traffic warnings. The only other thing I have is that we got another grant from the state to conduct aggressive driving enforcement, and that'll run from March 16th to April 26th. The grant was an amount of $1,850. That's all.
We have a question from Connie.
Whatever happened with the speed limit with PennDOT on Line Road?
They did their study and determined that 45 was what the speed limit should be. The only thing that the only changes that were recommended were to put up, I have to look up the terminology, something to the stop signs at Butler Road. I think it might be double stop sign. They call it bracketed stop sign.
Okay.
That was the only changes that were recommended after their study.
And is there going to be any kind of patrolling of the rails and trails? Because I did see in York, there was a rape that took place a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Yeah, there was. So I was just curious what kind of patrolling is going to be taking place. I mean, it's the warm weather, I mean, the trail's packed.
Yeah, when it starts becoming busier, we try to get out there more. Officers routinely check the parking lots.
Okay, do we have anything from the Public Works, John, that you're aware of? I didn't see anything, but, okay. Kendra is not here. That's odd.
Unusual.
Yeah, she didn't send an email to you, John? Okay, well then we'll hope that Kendra's okay, because that is out of character. Campbelltown is, yes. You're not sitting in your normal seat.
I know. For the month of February, we had 50 calls. Average personnel per call 7, average response time 3 minutes 58 seconds. We assisted Palmyra 3 times, Lawn 4 times, Cleona once, Neversink once, Lawn Ambulance 15, Lifeline Ambulance 6, Hershey twice, Grantville once, and South Londonderry Police once. There were 6 building fires, 1 truck fire, 1 brush fire, 2 gas leaks, 27 medical assists, 2 accidents with injuries, 1 accident with no injury, 1 child locked in a vehicle, dispatch and canceled en route 3 times, 1 automatic fire alarm, assist the police department once, and no incident found once.
Thank you. Lon?
So 8 calls for the month, 2 fires, 1 rescue, 4 good intent. And 1 false alarm, 5 of them here at home in South Londonderry, 1 in South Annville, 1 in Joy Township, and 1 in Rafley Township.
Okay. John, do you have anything for us that you want to report?
Other than to say with the recent coronavirus scare, you know, if anybody wants information, the best place to go would be the Pennsylvania Department of Health website. They have the most up-to-date information available. And all I can say is what the Department of Health and the CDC has been recommending. You know, wash your hands. If you cough, cover your mouth and try to keep your hands away from your face. Currently, I think there's, I don't know the number of cases right now in Pennsylvania, but I'm in daily contact with Lebanon County Emergency Management. They've partially activated their Emergency Operations Center during the week, and they're issuing daily sit reps on what's going on. Like I'm in daily contact with them.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Palmyra Area Rec and Parks. Who sits on that now?
I do.
And how is that going?
I thought it went pretty well. Mark's here. He's on the board as well.
Jack did an awesome job.
Their meetings are very short.
Uh-huh.
So I'm glad to sit on that board.
You guys get all the breaks. Fire board got removed or narrowed down now. Okay, anything to report?
I don't think there was anything major that I recall. Mark, you?
No.
Business as usual over there. Events
Okay.
are filling up. There was some with some shortages, so if you got any kids interested in those events, there's some openings, and that was about all.
I gotta say that our Park and Rec board, or not the board, but Park and Rec is an outstanding facility. Tina does a very good job. And we have a lot of kids involved, and it's just, our residents should be proud that we have a good rec program.
Okay, thank you. So we have minutes in our packet. I think we only had our authority minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's, because I'm not remembering seeing planning historical board. Okay. Township officials, do you gentlemen have anything? Bill, Jack?
I do not.
I don't.
The only thing I have is Sunday, I successfully, with the help of one of the representatives from Ducks Unlimited, we hung 2 duck boxes and put one in the creek. I don't know if you saw us back there, but so we were there on Sunday and got those installed. So hopefully that will help with some of the tick issues in that area. Apparently the Duck Unlimited representative said it's a prolific, yeah, I'm not gonna use that word. A very great area for all the ducks. They love it back there on that little pond. So that has been completed. So new business, moving on to acceptance of highway staff member resignation. We received a letter from Kyle Stauffer that he resigned effective on February 26th, 2020. Do we just need a motion to accept that letter? So can I get that?
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions about that? All those in favor? Aye. Moving on to naming of zoning and assistant zoning officer. John, do you want to comment?
With this transition that we're occurring right now, currently Frank and Ritu have been leading the charge on coordinating our zoning efforts. And I talked with staff and also with the supervisors earlier, and we're talking about maybe holding off a little bit on hiring somebody, because the last initiation of applicants was few and far between. We lucked out and we got Denise in here. Unfortunately, she was a star employee and headed off to green pastures up in Penn State. And so what we'd like to do here is utilize Ritu as the existing zoning officer and continue to have Scott named as the assistant, and then look at other alternatives here to possibly have that function taken care of for the residents here in the township. I have been in contact with Lebanon, Planning Commission. I've been talking with them a little bit about the opportunity that presents itself with them possibly, and I want to continue to pursue that before we move forward. So in the meantime, if residents can grant us a little bit of patience in here, and we'll address all their zoning issues and answer as many questions as we can, as fast as we can, with Frank and his team's help.
So you're recommending that right now we have Ritu as our primary zoning officer, Scott our assistant zoning officer. So do I have a motion for that?
Frank, staff-wise, you're okay with that?
Yeah. So, in the pinch, certainly I'm available. I'm very local here. Talked to John about another gentleman in our office, a little bit younger gentleman, does zoning in another municipality for us. So I think we can, coordinate some type of, to see how the activity goes. And, the key is responding back to the residents in a timely fashion. Even if we just make that initial phone call and say, I received your request, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. That works. But we have capacity in our staff to assist the township.
Okay.
Bill, do you have any questions?
Comments?
Sure. I was looking for a motion, and then I was going to open it up for discussion.
Yeah.
But we
I'll
can
make
do
a
discussion
motion.
first. Jack just made a motion. Do I have
Second.
a second? Now, questions. Do you have comments before I open it up to questions?
Yeah, just a comment. I don't think we see this as a permanent solution. We see this as, a stopgap, and I think you guys do a nice job until we reach a permanent solution.
Connie, question?
Yes, I know Scott, he had worked in doing that for the township a while back, so I'm aware of that. I also know that a number of years ago, and this would have been with our police contract, that there was some discussion about our police also getting involved in doing some of that work too. So I don't know if there was any thought in any of that as well.
In this, in enforcement of the zoning ordinance?
Not of the zoning,
Yeah,
but
the
on the
code.
code side of things.
Yeah,
And they
the
have
code.
been, and they have been
Not the
helping us
zoning.
out on the code side
Yeah,
also.
right, yes.
Yes.
So that's where we're at with that right now.
Right.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? Okay, so I have a first, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to advertising of defined contribution non-uniform pension plan ordinance. Patrick, do you want to comment on this?
Well, I don't know if John was going to run with this, but my recollection at your last meeting, you approved the amendments or the questionnaire request from RJ Hall with finalizing that actual defined contribution non-uniform pension plan. Have you received, if you've received the plan, the way the township, the way you have to adopt it is by ordinance. So once they implement those, I'm not going to, those additions to the plan that you talked about at the last meeting, once they implement, or once they prepare the final plan, that has to be adopted by the township as an ordinance. So the question is, I guess, did they turn that around with an actual plan?
Yeah, they're working on the ordinance. They drafted
Okay.
something for me, so we'll get that over to you.
Okay.
What we wanted to do was get it out there to advertise it, that, hey, we're taking care of these amendments per the Board of Supervisors, and then we have everything being worked on, like I said.
So are you looking for a motion for us to advertise it?
Yes. Yep.
We can
I'd like to
advertise it without it, seeing
See it first, if possible,
Oh, okay.
just to make double sure
Okay.
that we're all on the same board.
So we'll table this then until next.
Yeah, I'm assuming right now we're meeting at workshop,
We'll table till we get it.
Yeah.
so, okay. All right, so moving on to 2020 National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Grant Opportunity. I'm gonna obviously turn this over to you because this is new. I didn't see this.
Yes, no, there was a sheet on the very bottom.
Uh-oh. Kind of, is that it? Oh, that is it.
Memorandum from Kara at Route 2.
Okay.
All right. And maybe we should have been going, maybe I should have gone to the old business and adopted the, is it Riparian? Riparian.
Do we want to hold off on this a second
So,
and
why don't we
move?
do that? Let's go to the Riparian, and then I can lead into this right after that.
Okay, so moving down to the old business, Campbelltown riparian planting bid results. Frank, do you want to go through that, or were you planning? Caught you off guard, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. I'm always prepared. So within your packet, you should have received the bid tabulation. So there were 6 companies that bidded on the project. The high bid was $78,024, and that was Aquatic Resource Restoration Company. Low bid was $26,438, which kind of leads into what John mentioned earlier in his report, that the bid came in so good that we have the ability to do additional work. And as John said, we have reached out to the grant administrator, and they have confirmed that we can use all the money. I think it's 90,000.
90,000.
And there was some
There was
bidding
engineering
and,
costs.
yeah, some cost for the design work and bidding and so
Right.
forth. So it's not a full $90,000, but you can almost triple the amount of work cost-wise on this low bid. So we did research Arch Wild, the low bid. I talked to the gentleman that did the bid tabulation. He indicated that He feels that they came in so low. If you look at the number of trees, they actually grow their own stock, so they're not buying. They don't have to go out and buy stock on retail or wholesale prices. So that's why they came in at such a great value. So we're comfortable and we support using Arch Wild for the project. And our recommendation would be for the township to accept the bid from Arch Wild for $26,438 for the work associated with the riparian buffer.
Has Ritu ever worked with some people?
We have not, but that's why we actually reached out. We had, again, the gentleman that did the bid tabulation actually reached out to them because we don't have that history with them, and we just wanted to make sure that they were a quality firm and that they were qualified to do the work for the township.
There was no other discrepancy besides the fact that they have their in-house.
That's,
I mean, that's just a big gap between 76 and 26.
Margin is incredible. I mean, when you look at this on the plants, I mean, folks are buying them wholesale someplace else, and you're paying the middleman to.
And not only that, like, obviously we bid work every single day in my office, and Frank can probably tell you, the majority of work in the bid lettings of today, someone is always crazy low.
Yeah.
Whoever gets it is always crazy low. You always sit there and try to figure it out, but
Or they want to branch into this area.
Yeah,
So-
and I mean, again, if you just look at the cost of the trees, right, for Arch Wild, for example, a swamp white oak, they're at $30 a unit. And these other ones are anywhere from $40 up to $80 a unit. So again, it's, when you add all those trees up, it's quite a bit of savings by having your own stock on site. So we will, I mean, through John and, our inspection process, we'll stay on top of them and make sure that they are fulfilling the requirements and they are doing a great job for the township.
Okay, do I have a motion? Or
I didn't think it was crazy. I did not get that.
I didn't get that detail either,
That's why I
no.
just pulled it up here. Can I see it real quick?
What, the bid tab?
Yeah, I did not get that. So it was all bid unit price, so we'll be able to easily expand. Is there any language in the, what about, sometimes there's language in the standard specs about expanding it beyond, because this could quickly expand beyond a certain percentage of the contract, you know what I mean? Like sometimes
Yeah.
there's,
I honestly, Chuck, I do not know. I would have to.
it'd be great if we could expand it, the funds are there, but I
Yeah.
know like sometimes there's language buried in those specs that prohibit it from expanding beyond a certain percentage of the initial base bid.
John, I don't know if you have come across that.
And again, this happened so quickly when this came in, we wanted to reach out to find out if the opportunity even exists. We want to work with the fire company to find out whether or not we can do a certain area over there. And we'll continue to work on this. This could all fall, I mean, it could all fall apart on us depending on the next section of business that we have here. So we'll look into all of those items.
But we still need to do this part.
This is the first part, yes, this is the first step, yes.
I would make a motion to approve.
Archwild.
Archwild for a base bid of $26,438.
Second.
Do I have any questions? Yes, Jane?
And the riparian, from the map of the Campbelltown Community Park, it looks like the riparian buffer is on the north and the south side. Is that
Both
what
sides of the creek?
you're gonna
Yes.
improve?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they gonna all be like native trees, not like Bradford pear or things that are invasive?
No, it's not gonna be.
Would assume that wouldn't even be allowed.
Well, I hope so.
Red maple, sugar maple, serviceberry, river birch, hornbeam, honey, or butternut hickory, hackberry, redbud, sweet gum, tulip tree, black gum, southern magnolia, American sycamore, swamp white oak, willow oak, black willow, a couple different types of dogwoods, winterberry, black chokeberry, elderberry. So those are all native.
And is there anything like in addition to the trees, like plantings around the trees that are included in that work?
I would have to pull the plan
Yeah,
to
there
see
would-
specifically what the undergrowth will be.
I'll give that back to Frank. Okay, so I have a motion and a second, correct? Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Now back up to the to the 2020 National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. John, do you wanna, or is this Frank,
Oh,
which,
you know what? I'm commingling, aren't I?
is it totally
Yeah,
separate?
that's a totally
Yeah,
separate
yeah,
item.
this one, I can,
Yeah.
want me to kind of, I can do a quick overview.
Well, go
Unless you
ahead.
have it, John, if you have it, you can do it.
Hold on a second, I just want to make sure that I'm doing this right here.
Yeah,
Did we
there's-
miss something or something
No,
should be
no,
added
I'm-
on here?
No, here, I was thinking that the riparian expansion was
Is it?
this item, and
No.
it wasn't that, I didn't even have it listed on here because I wanted to just continue to pursue that because I needed to work with the fire company to make sure everything was working. So we will continue to work on that. No need for a motion or anything like that, but at least you're aware that we came in under budget on the grant and we'll continue to work on
And we're
that.
looking for more work.
Correct.
More, a
correct.
bigger scope, and
Correct.
they're fine with that.
Yes, yes.
Not the fire company, but the,
Yes,
pipeline
the
that gave us that grant.
Entity, oversight, seeing entity is fine with that. So here we have another opportunity that came down that, working with Kara from Route 2, she's our MS4 resident expert. I've been working with her to find out what other opportunities exist for some of our MS4 projects that are coming down the pike. The first one that we wanted to do was out here on Lingle Road with PennDOT, and right now it sounds like it's a little bit of stuck in mud and a little bit of bureaucratic red tape, so that is kind of phase one, but probably won't get done under this permit cycle. So I reached out to Kara and said, what are the other opportunities we have within the township to do that would meet our BPMs for MS4 projects? She came up with a couple different projects, and just to give you some background, the Board of Supervisors last year had earmarked $750,000 in an MS4 fund to take care of some of these projects over the course of the time in the permit cycle. Well, I also asked Carrie to keep her eyes and ears open for other grant opportunities that come up. So ironically, there was a grant opportunity from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, a grant opportunity that in the past, last year, RIT2 had submitted 4 grants on other municipalities where this was applicable to, and they were successful in 2 of those municipalities. They had $200,000 grants in each project. Ironically, this would probably be in the neighborhood of a $250,000 project if we were on initial estimates. And what she was able to do is said, hey, this National Fish and Wildlife Foundation has expanded their grant this year to include Nutley County. So with that, is it the Killinger? Is that the pronunciation of it, the Killinger stream? There's some stream restoration that we could take care of through this grant. And so what I asked her to do is quote me, if she would write the grant, because she already has the template, they've been very successful on it, we could tweak it to make it more of a South Londonderry Township funneled grant. She said that she'd be willing to take care of that if the Board of Supervisors would allow us to pursue that. So what I wanted to do was make the Board of Supervisors aware of this, that this is basically a wonderful grant opportunity. I mean, if we could get close to $200,000 on a $250,000 project, I mean, we don't have to use all that $750,000. Now with that, there's some time and effort that goes into having engineers do the work on writing this grant, and really some of it is plagiarized from previous grants from other municipalities. Yes, it is. And then we tailor it to South South Londonderry Township, and hopefully we could get something through. But again, I guess what we can do is the Board of Supervisors, are they willing for us to engage or to write the grant on our behalf, and we can work with them and submit it. We have really a couple $1,000s to lose. But based on the track record, they've been 50% successful on this.
So when you say restoration on this, this is sediment reduction?
Yeah, it would be part of the whole MS4 program. So it would kind of be just like the stream bank restoration that we're doing in the park. It's going in, cleaning out some old legacy sediment and additional plantings and floodplain work. And
Do we know how much we've done, and, do we have an estimate of what this would, like, where are we at with our permit cycle, with requirements?
yeah, so that was a discussion that I had with Kara, and I think, John, the goal is to bring her to one of the meetings so she can update the board on the MS4 program and where that stands. Because it's a pretty complicated program, and she's an expert in it, and I wouldn't want to misspeak on her behalf. But yeah, we're committed to bring her to a meeting and to update the board.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that's interesting in this project is where we'd be doing the restoration. We are at the border of our township, so we have South Anvil on the other side. So we're also reaching out with them to see if they would be interested. It just so happens that Ritu is their engineers too. So we could do a little bit of a tag team. A lot of times these grant agencies enjoy when people partner. So we could be doing both stream bank sides at the same time here and really taking care of some of these issues here from an MS4 standpoint. So again, there's some things that are still percolating on this.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this? No? Questions, discussion?
No, I mean, do we need a motion, I guess?
We need a motion to allow Kara to work on submitting the grant.
My only big question is the estimated reduction. I mean, if it's regardless whether it's grant money or not, if it's a $250,000 project and it gets us, if $250,000 somewhere else would get us more, just having no idea where we are.
Well, I think what we can do, Jack, is, so the due date for the grant is April 16th.
Okay.
So what we can do is if you want to authorize the preparation of the grant, but in the meantime, I can get Kara and John, we can talk about the benefit of the sediment reduction, and
We can bring it to a workshop too even.
yeah, we can report back, and if there is value there, then we can continue. If there's no value, then we'll recognize that, and we'll let the board know that maybe this isn't the best project to spend the effort to write the grant for. So.
I actually, this was one of 4 projects when I got here, I had worked with her on to try to come up here with this, and here's a spreadsheet that she did for me. I don't know if this is the whole area, but here's the very bottom one. That's one of the 4 projects that they were working on, so it does mark some of the sediment reduction over there.
And what's nice about this project, as John said, it's a joint project between 2 municipalities, so you get extra credit, extra points in the review process.
We really need Kara to come and explain this, because the sediment there, 31,416, that's great, but I don't know overall how much our township is expected to remove. I don't know what our 10% mark is.
82,000.
Oh, did you?
Is required.
Oh,
but
nice. Okay.
Again, it would be nice. I'll make the motion, but if we can express to her that
Is this what we're getting with the, I wonder if
I think
that's,
this is required because we look here. But
The top is what's required, the bottom are some guesstimates at this point that she was trying to give me some items, and we probably can't do just one project and get away with meeting our
Right,
permit. We needed probably all of them together, or 3 of those, or
sure.
something like
I guess
that.
I was just wondering what the riparian
this
buffer
actually
that,
looks, if I understand this correctly, this would actually solve the killing her, because the required is 31,000, and this, I lied, it's 500 short, but the phosphorus and nitrogen, so it would put us close. But, and I don't even, I would make the motion to approve it, just simply ask her to, even send us an, where we at, confirm her opinion. Obviously, if she's asking us to do it, I would assume it would be of her opinion that it's of value, but just because it's so complex.
Yes.
if she could give us an update too on, I know it said on the bid there that there was some erosion and sediment on the one we just approved, but I'd like to know Do we have any, I mean, we won't know until it's done, but an estimate
Yep.
of what that
Yep,
is?
no, but, I'll see if she's available for, if you're having the workshop, meeting, I'll see if she's available for the workshop meeting and she can come up and give an overview.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve that.
Second.
Do I have any questions? Yes,
Is
Jane?
this a matching fund grant or just, no?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Down to old business, Northside Crossings Apartments, rezoning request. So we have representatives here. Do you gentlemen have questions for them? You have any questions? Do you have any questions? Do you have any last minute anythings?
Only that, we obviously went over the project, 4.4 acres that we're requesting to be rezoned from commercial to multifamily residential, and we were here last time. Obviously looking for a motion just to proceed to the rezoning requests and hearing. Are there any other questions? I know one of the things that we had talked about before was some follow-ups with maybe with departments or time to think about the actual rezoning. Has anything come to that we need to discuss? I guess is the question for the board.
Do you have anything? You have nothing? You have nothing? No? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion for something with this rezoning request? Approve or deny? From anyone? I can make a motion to approve it, but I have a feeling I'm not going to get a second unless something has changed.
I struggle. This is probably one of the most difficult decisions I've made as a supervisor so far, to be totally honest with you. I commend you as developers. I met with a few residents over there. I drove through 3 or 4 times. It's a great project. I really struggle with the availability of the commercial space, which leads into that larger conversation that I said before about the zoning and this and that. That's where I'm at.
Okay,
Same at this time.
so what am I looking at to do for that?
Well, they've requested you to consider a rezoning. If it's the will of the board that you're not gonna rezone, you can just let them know. Or if you wanted to make a motion to, if you made a motion to approve it, you didn't get a.
I didn't get a
you didn't
second, so
So
it's
if
dead.
one of the other ones wanted to make a motion to deny the request at this point in time, would be appropriate. Just to give them direction, otherwise it's gonna be sitting and you're not gonna.
I'll make a motion to deny the request at this point in time.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to comment before I do it. The only other thought I had was making the motion to go forward, and hopefully, we haven't got a whole lot of input in here, and that's not unusual from what I find. No one wants to come in here in front of everybody and say it, but one of my other thoughts was to go forward with it and, to have the hearing, but I'm not about wasting anyone's money, conducting hearings and such. But I can tell you that I am completely torn. On one hand, I think it's a good idea, and I think that was a nice project, and you guys have done a great job, and I think you're a great asset to the community. But on the other hand, I said before, outside of that community, privately, I don't find a whole lot of support for it, and for some appropriate reasons, some inappropriate, but I just don't, and that's why I struggle so hard with it.
So at this point, are you seconding that or
I guess
to
so.
deny it?
If there's no other conversation, I guess I'll second Bill's motion.
Okay, do I have any questions, comments? Yes.
Does the board know or have heard any rumblings about North Side Drive being extended to 322?
Which end?
This end,
This end?
past Lincoln.
Past Lingle.
This one?
Have I heard any discussion?
That's
this
Through
one.
like Hershey Trust land?
Yes,
Mm-mm.
because that
I have not.
that was the original desire to connect North Side Drive to 322 in Hershey.
For
How-
this project, like, are we?
Oh, initially when this was developed, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that? I have not heard anything about that, no. And the other way to get it to 322 is,
The original plan many years ago, if you remember years ago when Milton Hershey wanted to take Meadow Lane from Derry Township, and then Derry Township was going to give, or Milton Hershey was going to give Derry Township land that they could come off 743 through the Milton Hershey fields, connect up to Lingle there, Northside Drive at Lingle, to keep all their trucks out of Hershey to go to the warehouses. And I didn't know if there was anything still in the works with that, or
Nothing that,
I'm not aware of
Not
it.
that I
I mean,
know.
I remember the supervisors denying that request. I remember the initial sketches and whatnot, but as far as I know, there's no one pursuing that.
because I think that would make a difference if Northside Drive extended past Lingle and connected back up to 322 for commercial development.
I guess my response would be, I think we're trying to get that Hershey trust land that's there to actually to work as a wetlands to reduce the flooding on Lingle, or at least that was the original plan when Ratu and this township were working on fixing Lingle until PennDOT stepped in, then I don't know what's gonna happen now.
and to my understanding, when it was just the township working with them, they were amenable. So that wouldn't,
So that wouldn't go with,
And Hershey Trust just reached out to us just within the last 2 weeks. Gall is his last name.
Ken Gall.
Ken, yes. And then there was another consultant to talk with me, since I'm new, to kind of get me up on the whole Lingle Avenue there. But it was more about the Lingle PennDOT Road there and the working stream bank restoration, wetlands.
so I would guess no. But, anything's possible, I suppose. Any other questions? Yes,
This
Doc?
did go before the planning commission, correct, and they
Yes.
denied it.
Yes.
And I just
Recommend
wanted
it
to
to
say that
deny.
I'm in agreement with Bill and Jack on this project.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Connie?
I support Bill and Jack too.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm a no. All right, moving on to lawn fire pipe project approval. I don't know, is that what you guys are working on for your driveway?
So if you remember last year, we approved this project, but, and I believe, don't quote me on the number, but I believe the number was $7,500, not to exceed $7,500. But we had a sewer line issue that we were unable to locate for months and months on end. We finally located that last week, made that repair to the satisfaction of the sewer authority. So we're ready to move forward with the replacement of the parallel drainage along the front of our parking lot. So I would make a motion to approve the use of the funds that are in the budget for the fire company, not to exceed $7,500 to replace the replace the parallel drainage along 241.
second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. So our next meeting was the workshop on March 25th. Do we want to hold that and ask Kara to come to discuss MS4, or is there anything else?
If I'll confirm with her availability tomorrow morning.
Okay. If that changes, we'll put it on the website that we're canceling the meeting then, unless there's something else that needs to come up, but, any other good and welfare from anyone? Yes, Doc?
I just wanted to give a personal thank you to the Linden CTC because they gave a very generous donation to the canine unit, and it's being that it's funded completely by donation, that means a lot. So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
That's wonderful. Do you mind sharing how much they
I think
gave?
it was about 400, I might be mistaken.
How much?
400, I believe. She might have those numbers in the canine report, but I'm not sure.
I could look, I didn't, but thank you.
Almost certainly.
Oh, that's,
Did they raise it or where
They
did
had a
they?
fund.
Okay.
Oh, nice,
Very nice, yeah.
wonderful.
I was on the CTC board for a while, and I just think it's overlooked sometimes. A lot of our a lot of our entrepreneurs, you know, the folks that open up a plumbing business or, you know, the builders, and they come, a lot of the entrepreneurs that stay in the community, that pay taxes, that fund the school districts, come through the CTC.
Okay, anything else? All right, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending.